So I had that small coolant leak on the turbo side of the RB26. It was from a fitting right there. They blocked off, you see them right there with the hose clamps and the caps on them. They blocked those off, but they eventually wore out and started leaking. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it right. I'm gonna trace that line back to this horrible, horrible design underneath the intake manifold, which I had to pull off. And so my plan, and I also plan to take this off, but so like this is an airline, this is an airline, the coolant line is this that I pulled off because I am going to remove those from it. I already tried to use the air chisel, didn't work too well. But I'm going to keep the coolant hard line, plumb it back up, and actually thank God I was messing with this because my oil cooler line here was actually started leaking, so I'm sure that has a hole in it somewhere underneath. I don't know. But these lines are so old, I'm going to delete as much as possible. But make the right choices and it runs and doesn't leak. Got a bit more off. And here's my idea of what I'm going to do. Route this one to that one so that they can just be happily married together. That is a coolant port, which I have this, which I cleaned up really nice. I took off because they weren't being used anywhere. I took off this, which was directly under right here. This I took off, which, yeah, I'm not putting that back on. I'm gonna see how my car runs with all that off. But, so this will go and attach to there. The oil cooler line will still be connected. And then this will connect to my heater hose down here. And then this I am going to route to connect to here. It's at the very back, and it's like this little piece that runs underneath the ITBs. Or no, it's a little bit deeper than the throttle bodies, individual throttle bodies, but it's this piece right here. Seems like it's full of coolant, and I'm going to route this little nipple to that little nipple. And these are the pieces that I cut off. You can see them right there, they've been cut. Those are the ones that were originally leaking, which is why I got myself into this mess in the first place. But one thing I do hate when I look in the engine bay of an RB is I see this like black coating all chipped up. So what I'm gonna do, so it's the top side. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it all off, and I'm either gonna repaint it black or see how it looks when it's also all silver. All right, after 45 minutes of sandblasting, this is the result. Let's get out in the sun, check it out. I think it looks pretty good. There's a couple spots that need to be touched up, like, you know, missed the paint there, but that's on the back side facing the firewall. You're not really gonna see that. And a couple spots there, but overall, I think I like it better. Really use a parts washer, but I don't know where I'd fit it. Just like it says, just arrived. Time to put it back together. We'll say packaging is A1. I use the pipe wrench to twist this loose. Right, they're press in. So once I twisted it loose, it pried out pretty easily. And the plan is to chop this down and epoxy that in. And one I plan to use for the brake booster, the other I plan to use for the clutch booster. vacuum line. Through this, I'll have the check valve, which is somewhere, and then it'll just be going right into the brake booster. I'm eliminating this. Like, what even is that? And apparently the clutch has a booster, which this red line is attached to, and the red line is just going to attach to right there. And that is the line I plugged. I took out that press fitting, and I'm going to put it back together, and I'm going to see how it runs. Will it run well? Guess I'll find out. Started up the car, and if I let my foot off the gas, it dies, so. I control the idle, and I just remembered I gotta put coolant in this thing. I think you're about to know what's going down now. Put the welder out. This is the piece. And that right there is the hole. I should have known better. I saw it, and I was just hoping for the best. But when you're tucking something up and away that requires like 45 minutes of work to get to, yeah, just take care of it. And with the help of a welder and a grinder, I believe it's sealed. Finished up everything on this. All the coolant's all plugged up. Well, how about this? I think I finished everything on it, and went out for a quick test drive. Coolant level, coolant temperature gauge is right where it should be, and this thing is still, something's wrong. Something's wrong with it. Haven't figured it out yet, but it runs, it drives. It's just so slow, but. Yeah, it doesn't want to idle because my idle air control valve, I assume, leaks that I can see. One thing I never knew about these is it looks like it's sucking air in from right here. Yeah, you can hear it. And one thing I haven't figured out yet is if I disconnect my brake booster hose, there's no vacuum on this, which goes right to this. It runs, it drives, and it's about as fast as it was when I first got it. So here's what third time's the charm. It's off again for the third time. When I went for the test drive, once it warmed up, it idled on its own, so that wasn't a big deal. But I had no brakes. Well, I had no brake booster. So the brakes were very hard, and I didn't stop unless I really stood on the brakes. And same with the clutch. The clutch was super heavy. So I had them coming off right there, the manifold. And I realized that there is no vacuum there because the throttle bodies are shut. The vacuum comes from the other side, which this hose is connected to. So these hoses feed into the vacuum block, or a vacuum chamber, which like sits right here. So is this little contraption I have any better? I just cut this, which I just had looped originally. So it feeds to another T, and one T goes to a check valve, which goes to the clutch booster, and the other goes to the check valve for the brake booster. So this way it makes a lot more sense that it'll actually work. I'm hoping there's no fourth time. And this is all the stuff that I'm still not using. This is like a air diverter or something, but it is this part number here. Yep, not using this. I'm not using I believe this is the idle air control valve or the AAC valve. This is that vacuum chamber that has all that hooked up. And then all these hoses, and this is those coolant lines that went around the back of the block. And again, all this for a small coolant leak. I know I went a little overboard.